scalloped potatoes,
5-pound bag of heavy whipping cream, and some milk, some chicken broth, a cooking tray. Peel is my favorite tool. Again, watch out for your fingers. For the milk, we're gonna keep doing this. Push down slightly, cook at 350 to an hour and a half. Golden brown. Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Cooking for the Real World with Cookman G. With us here today is Elliot. Elliot's gonna be our cameraman. And Elliot, what are we gonna be making today?
scalloped potatoes.
Excellent. So this is one of my kids' favorite, scalloped potatoes. There's two reasons why I like it beyond the delicious taste. Is one, the simplicity of the ingredients, and secondly, the easiness of making this recipe. So all we're gonna need are some potatoes. Here I have a 5-pound bag of russet potatoes. What we're also gonna need is some heavy whipping cream and some milk, some chicken broth, a little bit of cheese, right? Those are essentially our basic ingredients. We're also gonna need some salt and pepper and a little bit of garlic. And in terms of our utensils, what we're gonna be using today is a mandolin in order to slice the potatoes real thin. We're gonna be using a cooking tray, much like this one. I personally like the IKEA ones simply because they're non-stick, so it makes it for a really easy cleanup. We're gonna use a cooking board, a chopping board like here, a knife, a peeler, and that's about it, right? So it's a fairly simple recipe and one that everybody enjoys. You can use these scalloped potatoes as the main dish for your dinner party, but you also can use it as an accompaniment, and that's what we're gonna be doing today. We're gonna be accompanying our salmon pave with these scalloped potatoes here, all right? So very first thing is we're gonna peel our potatoes, all right? So very simple peel, just like this. We're gonna peel our entire 5-pound bag of potatoes, and we'll be back as soon as it's all done. So now we have our 10 potatoes. They're peeled, they're about this size. And what we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna wanna slice them very thin, all right? So I'm personally using a mandolin right here. This is my favorite tool in order to slice them real thin. And you can see how quick and easy this is. At the same time, you gotta also be very careful not to slice off your fingers, okay? If you don't have a mandolin, then I suggest using a regular cooking knife. A butcher's knife, for instance, amongst others, works very well, okay? So quickly go through all your potatoes like this, slice them nice and thin. Again, watch out for your fingers. Use the mandolin holding piece if you need to. It's one like this, okay? Personally, I prefer to use my hands, but these work also very well. Once you have your potatoes super slicely thin, again, this is the thinnest slice that we want, right? Reserve them and put them to the side, okay? Do not put them in water because that takes all the juices, right? So just put them to the side, keep them right there. And so this is what our 10 potatoes look like once they're slicely chopped or cut. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna take our garlic and we're gonna smear it on the bottom of the plate, just like this. Believe it or not, this is gonna give it a nice garlicky flavor without being overwhelming, right? So now just crunch it down on the bottom, get it nicely covered, as so. We're now gonna take our milk. I like to start with milk and put the milk, just a thin layer on the bottom of your cooking plate, like this, okay? And now we're gonna start by putting our potatoes in, right? So we just grab a handful of potatoes and we layer them in, right? To have a thin layer on the bottom covering the whole bottom of the cooking plate. We're gonna have them slightly submerged under the milk. Great. So you can see our potatoes are now at the bottom of our tray. They're covered in milk. And now we're gonna interchange between milk and cream, okay, and the chicken broth on a regular basis. So we're gonna do that fairly quickly, as you can see. The point here is just to have our potatoes covered and cooking within this mixture of milk, cream, and broth, all right? Perfect. So now we have a first layer of milk, a second layer of cream, and now we're gonna add the chicken broth. And what I like about the chicken broth is that it keeps the mixture of milk and cream somewhat lighter. It also helps the potatoes cook a little bit more evenly and thoroughly throughout, all right? So we're gonna keep doing this. Again, mixture of one time milk, one time cream, one time chicken broth, all right? We're gonna keep repeating that and we're gonna go through all our potatoes like that. What we've done now is we have our plate that's full of potatoes, milk, cream, and chicken broth. This is what it looks like right here. It's almost full, and what I like to do now is just push down slightly right? To make sure that we've got our potatoes well covered and that there's enough milk, cream, and chicken broth within to help them to cook properly. All right, so I'm going to add just a little bit more of these potatoes to make sure that we got enough of a mix. You don't want to squish them in, right? We want to keep it a very light and moist texture in between. So this is about right, okay? So so when the milk and the liquid mixture can cover fully your potatoes, all right? So this is what we got. What I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna put some salt over this, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and I'm gonna cover with cheese. All right? Just sprinkle with salt and a little bit of pepper, grind some pepper on top. Excellent. And we're gonna add our shredded cheese. All right, so this is a mix of Swiss and Gruyere cheese that we're just gonna sprinkle on top. Cover our potato gratin and scalloped potatoes here with some cheese. All right, excellent. Now that we've got our scalloped potatoes covered with cheese, we're gonna put all this mixture inside the oven and we're gonna let it cook at 350 for about an hour to an hour and a half. All right, and we're gonna keep checking on it regularly throughout the cooking session. All right, look at these beautiful scalloped potatoes right here. They're golden brown. We're gonna take them out nice and softly, nice and gently, because we don't wanna burn ourselves. And we're gonna be having this for dinner, probably with some salmon, all right? So I hope you enjoy your scalloped potatoes as well, and think of us when you make. All right, so these scalloped potatoes have been in the oven for about an hour and a half. I just pulled them out, and let's have a look at these beauties. Just to pierce them, just to make sure that they're cooked through and through, which is clearly the case right now. And you're gonna see as you start serving them, they're gonna be very delicious, they're gonna be very moist, and they're going to be still very creamy, but without being heavy. And that's because we use a combination of heavy cream with milk and with the chicken broth. All right. So I hope your entire family enjoys this. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time on another edition of Cooking for the Real World. Oh yeah, and one more pointer: try to let the potatoes rest and sit for about maybe 2 to 3 hours before serving them. They're extremely hot at this point. You know, the combination of cream, milk, and chicken broth keeps it very, very hot, all right? So let it sit for 2 to 3 hours. You're gonna see that the potatoes are gonna absorb some of that liquid, and it's gonna make them that much more moist and palatable when you serve them this evening, all right? So have a good one. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll talk to you next time on another edition of Cooking for the Real World. Take care, guys. Ciao.